and I'm here to help you train your dogs and cats to be therapy animals and adventure pets. This month we're focusing on preparing your pets for Halloween because there's a lot of spooky, scary stuff at Halloween. Of course we know that, but really, have you thought about how spooky and scary it can be for your pet? Maybe not. So we want to make sure that we're addressing those concerns before the big day arrives. If you're anything like me, you love Halloween, so you want to make sure that you can have fun and of course that your pet can have fun too. Today we're going to talk about introducing your pet's costume. So you're going to need your pet's costume and some treats. I've got a handful of treats right here. We have Cora here today who's going to help us demonstrate how to introduce your pet's costume. Because if you wait until the day before Halloween or the day of Halloween to introduce your pet's costume, it's probably not going to go super well. You want to make sure that you have what you need to introduce it to your pet beforehand and to make it a positive experience for them so that you can spend the next couple weeks slowly introducing this costume, getting your pet as comfy as possible in it so that Halloween is not extra stressful because your pet just refuses to wear their costume, is uncomfortable or nervous. You might be saying, why do I need to train my pet to wear a costume? And you don't, right? It doesn't have to ever happen. But there are benefits to getting your pet comfortable in their costume. This is going to get them comfortable wearing things that they may need to wear later on. Maybe you live in the Midwest or someplace that gets cold like I do, and your pet's going to need to wear a coat when you're out on walks when it's -20 or whatever it is out there. Getting them comfortable in a costume is going to get them more comfortable wearing clothes in general so that they can comfortably go on walks in their coat when it's chilly outside. Maybe you have a therapy dog like Cora who has to wear a vest during her therapy animal visits. Getting her comfortable in a costume also transfers to that therapy animal vest so that she can be more comfortable wearing that, having something on her body that she doesn't necessarily have on 24/7 so that she's used to it and happy and not stressed out so that she can keep bringing joy to other people on those visits. Maybe you don't plan to do any of those things. You live in a nice climate or your pet has a great thick fur coat unlike Cora's thin wiry one and you're not a therapy animal team. You still might have to have your pet wear something if they ever have a surgery, maybe an emergency surgery, maybe a planned surgery. They might have to wear the cone of shame, as we call it, or if that's not going well, they might have a full body suit to wear to prevent them from chewing on things. So again, it's still beneficial to get your pet comfortable wearing something that they don't wear 24/7 so that they can be comfortable if these things arise, whether it's vet care after a surgery or some of those things we just talked about. Training your pet to wear a costume is not only fun and adorable, it is also beneficial for lifelong benefits. All right, so let's get started introducing the costume to your pet. Remember, make sure you have a handful of treats and your pet's actual costume. Okay, step one is going to be just getting your pet used to the costume, touching their body. So you can see I've got Cora here at my side. I've called her off of her cozy place. I don't want to create a negative association with place if she really hates this costume. She won't, she likes clothes. But if you've never introduced something to your pet before, you definitely want to get them off of place or a spot where you usually want them to be comfortable going to. And just start with a sitter down in the middle of the floor. Good, right there, I don't know if you saw it, but Cora sniffed this costume. She checked it out. So engaging with it, any interaction with it, that's not negative, right? Chewing on it or something like that. But just sniffing it, checking it out. If I casually hold this by her, let's see if she does that again. She's like, no, I just want treats. There we go, you got it. Is something that we can reward. So if you see her scenting, sniffing, good, right there, interacted with it, I can mark or reward that and give her a treat. So that can be step one, especially if your pet thinks it's spooky. Just seeing that costume in your hand when they get startled, being brave enough to come up and interact with it or even do air sniffs from across the room is something we can mark and reward. Now, I'm going to drape the costume over Cora's body. We're not putting it on, we're not trying to shove her into it or anything like that. Just getting her used to the costume touching her body. So we're going to tell her down. Good girl. Good. You can mark a reward for that down. Even if they know it, we want to keep this experience super positive so that they're a fan of the costume. Stay. And we're just going to set that on top of Cora, just like that. That's step one. Good. If she doesn't shake it off, okay. We can just mark a reward. If your pet's really unsure about it, You might drape it, remove it right away, and then mark and reward. You can slowly build up the time that it's draped over your pet. Stay. Stay. No, ma'am. You can see Cora's maybe a little unsure. I think she really just wants treats and is trying to figure out the fastest way to get them, but maybe she's a little unsure of that costume. Good. So we're just going to build up how long it's draped over top of her by marking and rewarding. Good. And then once I take it off and she stays there, good. I can mark and reward again. Okay. And now we're done with step 1. So just draping that costume over your pet. Again, if you've never introduced any costume to your pet, or specifically this one for this year's Halloween, that's what I would start with. And you could do it for several days. We're halfway through the month right now, so you've got about 2 weeks. You can divide these steps up over those 14 days to make sure your pet's calm and confident wearing their costume. So that was step number 1, drape the costume over top of them. Let's move on to step number 2. Okay, for step number 2, we're going to lure Cora into her costume. So that means I'm going to use treats to get Cora into the position that I need her to be in to get this costume on. This one is kind of just like a little sweatshirt. And so what I need her to do is to stick her head through the head hole, right, from the back all the way to the front, to get this costume on her, right? So the way that I'm going to lure her into that is to have that treat here and pull it through. Good. Mark and reward. So we're getting her to stick her head in voluntarily by using that treat to lure her into it. Good. So there, I'm holding it up. I'm holding the treat on this side, and she's putting her head through to grab the treat. Let's try it again. Good. So really nice job. She's engaging with it. She's getting comfortable, sticking her head in, getting in that position that I need to dress her in the costume. Really beneficial stuff here. If this is your first time ever doing this again, that's where we'd stop with step 2. We wouldn't keep going. But Cora is comfy in costumes and clothing, so we're going to keep pushing it so you can see what the whole process looks like. So now I'm going to slide it over. Good. And then mark a reward once it's on her body. That's not all. We've got to get some leggies in here. So we're going to get one leg in. Maybe. And again, if your pet shows discomfort or is unsure at any point in this process, that's where you're going to stop and mark and reward before you reach that point, or right as they reach it, and then just take that costume back off and try again. We want to keep it positive. So if your pet is showing discomfort or uncertainty, you want to stop there, repeat the process until that point, marking and rewarding throughout until your pet is not showing that uncertainty, not showing that discomfort. Then you can keep going with the process. So here I'm going to stick another little paw in. Good job. There we go. Good. And now Cora is in her costume. Now this is a hoodie, and that's probably the number one mistake that I see people make with Halloween costumes, is not practicing the headpiece. Maybe your pet does wear a therapy dog vest. Maybe they do wear a coat when it's winter time, or even a bandana that they have to, stick their head into or have around their neck. That's normal. But something on their head almost certainly doesn't happen unless they're wearing a costume. So we want to make sure we really practice this and mark a reward when it's on. So we're going to pull the hood up onto Cora's head. Whoop, there we go. Good. And mark a reward when it's on. Good. Okay. And then I can take it off again with an okay. Let's try that again. This time I don't have the treats in my hand. I'm going to get it on her head first. Good. Mark and reward. So I marked and now I got a reward. If she's sitting there not trying to remove it, good. We can reward again. Very nice. So that's getting Cora comfy in her costume with marking and rewarding and luring her, good, into wearing that costume in the first place. Okay. So make sure that you get your pet willingly stepping into their costume, putting their head in their costume, whatever it is that you need to get them dressed in their costume, by luring them through with treats. Practice that on a regular basis. And don't forget to practice wearing whatever goes on their head, if there's anything involved with their head for this Halloween costume, because that's probably the strangest thing we're asking them to do and going to be the most distracting thing. Keep practicing that until your pet is super comfortable, and then we'll move on to step number 3. Okay, step number 3 is to get your pet moving in their costume. Once you've got it on them, you probably want to jump right into movement. Because unlike Cora, who's used to wearing costumes, if you've put a costume on your pet for the first time, they're more than likely a little uncomfy in it still. And the longer you sit still, the more tempted they'll be to rub their way along the ground to try to get that costume off or paw at whatever's on their head. So getting your pet moving in their costume is an easy way to start getting them acclimated to it without having that added challenge of just sitting still and being like, it's on me, how do I get it off? We want to keep it positive, right? So if they are hanging out, being nice and still and not trying to get their costume off, good. We can mark and reward that behavior. Great job. You're not trying to escape your costume. But just moving around, taking your pet on a walk in their costume or even a walk around your home, let's go, can be a great way to get them comfy in that costume without being so challenging, let's go, that they are struggling with sitting still and trying to get that costume off. You can even add in agility. Here we're going to add in the chair for Cora. Let's go. She's going to go under it, she thinks. Here we go. Come on, Cora. Up, up. Up, up, up. Good girl. Good. So moving. Okay. Jumping, doing environmental agility, all those things. She's checking out underneath the chair now. Make sure she didn't lose any treats. Good job, Cora. Sit. Those sort of things can help get your pet comfy in their costume without being too hard. Sometimes sitting still is a little difficult for them when they've got that big distraction of having that costume on their body. So getting them moving so they have to think about where their feet are going, tackling that agility, all of that gets them comfy in it. It also has the added benefit of you seeing how that costume works in a moving pet. If you're planning to take your pet trick-or-treating with you, or even hanging out at your church's trunk-or-treat like Cora and I are going to do, you want to make sure you know what you need to do to keep them comfortable in that costume and to keep the costume on their body. So getting them moving is a nice, easy way to do that. Let's move on to our final step, step number 4. Step number 4 is to do a relaxation drill with your pet in their costume. Here you can see Cora and I are doing sitting on the leash. So sitting on the leash, she has just enough leash to stand up or lay down, and she's free to do whatever she wants. Right now she's chilling out laying down because she's used to this relaxation drill. So hanging out here shows us that Cora truly is comfortable in this costume, because if she were uncomfortable, she wouldn't be relaxing. She'd be actively trying to escape the costume. Unless she's just entirely shut down, you can tell she's not. She was moving around just fine in it before. So your final item to get your pet comfy in their costume and to make sure that you've been successful, really, is to do a relaxation drill with them in their costume. If they're able to relax in their costume, doing sitting on the leash or the calm down, then you know that they're truly comfortable in that costume. And for Cora at Trunk or Treat, this is largely what I want her to look like. We're going to be hanging out with her in the trunk while the kids walk past. She's needing to be comfortable just laying still. If your pet only stays in their costume and moving, and when you come to a stop, they're trying to get it off, that's not going to be very successful, right? So we want to make sure that they've gotten comfortable enough that they're able to complete a relaxation drill in their costume. If you haven't introduced your costume to your pet yet, now is the time, because if this is hard for them, you don't want to find that out the day of Halloween or the day before Halloween, because you're not going to have time to practice getting comfy in that costume. Make sure that you're giving yourself plenty of time and giving your pet plenty of time to get comfy in that costume. Don't forget that you should wear your costume around your pet too, so that they're not spooked by that the day of Halloween. I hope you've enjoyed today's Training Tip Tuesday. Make sure to stay tuned, because we've got some updates coming up pretty quickly here about my maternity leave ending, getting back to live training tips and in-person and online training sessions. So if you want to learn more about that, make sure you're signed up for emails. The link is in the description of this video to sign up for emails, because that's where you're going to hear about it first, and it'll eventually make its way over here to the Facebook page. Thanks so much for tuning in to Training Tip Tuesday. Again, make sure that you stay tuned because we'll have some updates here for you shortly about what the schedule is going to look like once I come back from my maternity leave. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you next week as we continue getting our pets ready for Halloween by training and preparing in advance because we can't wait till the day before, the day of. They won't be ready to enjoy it as much as we would like. Have a great week, everybody.